is tuning in. I know it's going to take a couple minutes for folks to hop on and join us live, and we're so thankful that you're here if you are, in fact, joining us live. I am Christie Freeze. I am your host of ShareTheCare's Resources Within Reach series. Each and every Thursday night, I bring on one of my favorite resources to share with all of you, the resources that are within reach and that are available to you, and help you get to know them a little bit more. So tonight I have Dave Holder with Assisted Living Locators of North Indy, right? Is what?
That's correct. Yes.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're so welcome. I'm so glad that you're here. I do want to take kind of a deep dive in getting to know you and sharing with everyone how you help, why you help, kind of what led you here. So we'll do that in just a moment.
Okay.
For those of you that aren't able to catch us live, you can catch the replay of this interview on YouTube, of course, here on Facebook, and then the podcast will be on wherever you're listening to your favorite podcast. So let's get to it. Dave, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Christy. I appreciate it. This is awesome. Thank you so much.
I'm so excited. I've been talking about, I get so excited each Thursday, but people know I'm super excited. So tell us just, if you would, just kind of kick us off with who you are, introduce yourself for those that maybe don't know you, and then we'll kind of unpack what you do.
Sure. So I am Dave Holder. I am the owner of Assisted Living Locators of North Indy. So we are is it the royal we when it's just me?
Sure.
Show, I don't know. Anyway.
I do that a lot too. We, me.
We are your local senior living advisor. You can kind of think of me as sort of your senior living realtor. I think that's a good description. And how I started in this is kind of interesting because my background is landscaping and snow removal.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So 3 years ago, I never thought I would be doing this, but about 3 years ago, I was looking to make a change from the weather controlling my life. I would have been a real stressed out guy dealing with the snow here recently. And long story short, I met a guy that was a franchise broker, and he was a great coach. That's how I thought I was meeting him, more as like a business coach and going to help me with this new phase of my life. But anyway, he convinced me I was smart enough to run my own business. And so we started talking about options. And after going through a few, I was like, Jeff, none of these are banging my shutters,
Banging my shutters. I love you so much.
So he said, how about, like helping families and seniors with assisted living and I was like, there's people that do that. And he's like, yeah, why? And I'm like, we just went through this with my father-in-law back in November. And I told him how awful it was. He had dementia, was living at home. Really bad week, like most families go through, and didn't know what to do, where to go, where to start. And watching my mother-in-law and my wife and my two sisters-in-law just scramble, and it was awful. So long story short, we moved him and then realized it wasn't a good fit after 3 months and moved him again. So that had just recently happened. And he was like, Dave, that's what you'd be helping people do. And so I was just like, oh my gosh,
like, yes, sign me up.
Yeah. I'm like, help people become, a resource, have relationships, run my own business. Oh my gosh, this sounds too good to be true. And so dove into it and opened in June of 2018. So yeah.
That's incredible. I love when there's a personal connection to, like, I don't know. It's interesting, like in my situation, which I know we're going to talk a little bit about how we've worked together in the community setting, but I have never I have never been a caregiver, but having seen over 4,000 caregivers, I feel like I very much can embody what they're going through. And so it's interesting when there's a personal connection, like you've been the one to go through it and you're like, this is not how this has to be. I can overcome this for people. And then also seeing it on the other end of like, wow, there has got to be something to help these people navigate this easier. So
yeah, absolutely. And I think like what's interesting, like I said, I never would have thought that I was doing this, but just to be able to relate to people, like, I understand, it's okay, we're going to figure out the best way to go. But there's so many layers to what I do. And, you know, hopefully being as empathetic as I am, that I can relate to that, and it's okay, you know, to go through that. I know one of the things that like Carolyn and I felt was like, amidst all of that, and then as you start to peel back the layers of like, well, there's a financial component that, you know, mom might not be aware of, and, you know, the will may not be as in the right order and up to date as where we want it. But then there's also that emotional thing that I always mention this because it was had so much an impact. Carol and I looked at each other and were like, when did we get old enough to suddenly be dealing with this? You know, like that. And that's like a hard thing to suddenly accept too. So you're dealing with all these complex emotions, you know, to have somebody that's going to go, we can figure this out. Let's, you know, let's talk, let's have this.
Yeah.
Let me connect the dots for you. It'll be okay. Wow. You know, that I wish I would have had it, but I'm glad that I can do that now.
Yeah. And for those of you that are watching that know Dave, you know that you really are that empathetic, like space, that safe space to really unpack that whole situation. And so just as you were saying that, I drew a little wheel spoke. And that's what it feels like, is that there are so many spokes in the wheel, which is my mission as well, is how do we connect those?
Right.
Because I'm sure you've run into this a ton too, where people maybe, yes, feel like they're going through it alone. They're like, whoa, that crept up on us awfully quickly.
Yes, exactly. Right.
And it feels when you're in it like there's zero resources, that there is nothing, when in reality there's so much, it's almost overwhelming.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of honing that in and having a guide, somebody that will like hold your hand through the process, that makes it way less scary. And you do it.
It's so true. And I think like both of our roles, we have to keep that front of mind, because there's nothing like showing people what you know.
Mm-hmm.
I can help you, and you throw out all stuff, like we could do all of this and that, and then you hang up the call and they're more confused than ever. So you really have to dole out that information and kind of keep that conversation going, because the last thing we want to do is overwhelm them.
Right.
Be more than they already are.
I am guilty of that. I am learning to kind of hone it in a little bit and like stick to the foundation and the simple basics, because you're right. I'm a fire hydrant. I'm like, oh, you have this situation? I have so many solutions. And they're like, what?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Calm down, lady. Give me the basics. I need to know step one. And it gives you an opportunity, which you've mentioned earlier, it gives you an opportunity to build a relationship.
Yeah.
And so you get to actually have this like ongoing friendship and relationship and be an amazing resource continuously, not just like a one-stop shop.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. It's so rewarding.
Yes. So I love that. Thank you so much for sharing your background. I think it really helps. I think it helps people to feel more comfortable in connecting to resources when they feel like they know a little bit more than like your website would say or a business card would say, and just kind of helps you feel a little bit more comfortable. So I would like to talk about how the process works with you. So
Sure.
I don't know if you just want to share, or if you would like me to share how I have connected you to families, and then maybe how you've taken it from there.
Yeah, that'd be great. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. So people typically come to me in that overwhelm, maybe pre-planning, but just like, what do? We don't know where to begin. And so anytime that I hear somebody, I actually spoke with a lady earlier in the week, and we're connecting tomorrow, and she may be a great fit for you. And because what I heard her say is, my dad lives in Florida, I live here, and I would love to bring him here, but I don't even know where to begin.
Right.
And so I already said, I would love to hear more, but I already have a resource. And his name is Dave, and you should tune in. So that's kind of how, and I want to talk about this a little bit more as we go on a little bit too, but that is how I work with you best, is when I can hear those kind of trigger comments, or like, ooh, and then say, oh, this is a perfect time for you to talk to Dave, and then here's what Dave can do. So just kind of take us from that, like what happens after that.
Sure. So there's like, to kind of break it down, there's like 4 steps.
Okay.
Generally speaking. So the first one would be that first conversation where I call it, for lack of a better word, like an assessment.
Sure.
And not in any sort of clinical, although we do cover a lot of that, but we're really going to talk about the specific situation that's going on. And kind of back to the realtor analogy, we're going to talk about location, budget, that type of aspect, 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom, those things. And really learn as much as I can to who the players are. Do we need to bring in other family members? All of that. And really get a sense of what it is that they're looking for and what's important to the family. Then the next step is where I'm going to make some recommendations. And ideally, I like to look at, I think 3 seems to be the sweet spot for families. I think if they look at more than 3, it can be overwhelming. And that's all.
Together.
Yeah, it's dependent on the time, but I want them to narrow it down to 3. So I'll send them usually an email with those links. And I like to send just a little bit more than 3 with the assumption, hey, here's what we talked about. Here's what's important. Here's some descriptions. So we narrow down to those 3. And then the third step would be the actual tours. So this is where I think the real value comes, is I accompany them on the tours, whether it's virtually or in person, and kind of act as their advocate, but make sure they're understanding things like, whoa, she mentioned assessment. Can we stop and talk a little bit about the assessment? What's involved with that? And then I like to be the note taker. I organize all the notes for the families and put them together in this spreadsheet that I share with them. And then really the last step is just reviewing those, okay? You know, that's where we can have a really great dialogue about, you know, this community had the movie theater. Well, I know you guys like it, but you said mom doesn't watch movies, you know, right. And help it drill that down. And then they ultimately say, I'm going to go with this community. So I'm there to do that. And then at that point, you know, I still want to be involved. You know, some people like to have me involved through that, and I can, you know, help with the movers and up to right move and, you know, meet mom, all of that. And then, so that's what I do. And it's important to note too, I know you'll get to that the families don't pay me for that service.
Yes, I do want to talk about that.
Yeah. So I get, yeah. And I think like the realtor thing works like that. If you want to buy a house and you employ a realtor, it's the seller of the house that pays that realtor for that. And it's the same way that the community pays me a referral fee.
Awesome.
Service. So
yeah, I love that too, about staying with them through the process. Like you mentioned your father-in-law getting somewhere and not being the right fit, and so how beneficial to have somebody like you to come back to and say, you know, I really loved working with you. We thought this was going to be a great fit based on this, and this, but it's not. Do you have another solution? What do we do now? And you already have that relationship, you already have that background. It's not starting fresh, reinventing the wheel and figuring it out.
Right. And that's what I love about, like, that we'll take the time in that first step and even narrowing down those choices where I really want to hear more. You know, I want to hear what's important to the, I mean, yes, it is location, and that I don't ever want to discredit that. And yes, it is the care, but it's also, we're also picking out a home. So we want that person to feel comfortable. We want to know, you know, what the average age is, what the demographics is. Maybe
it feels like
dad is a veteran, and that's important. So we want to find a community that has a large veteran base. You know, those type of things. I really want to spend that time talking about it. And that's why I love that it's no cost. So you're not wasting my time. We can do that.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. That's probably my favorite part of working in senior communities. I think that's why I love this, even in general, is I'm just like, tell me more. Like what?
Yeah.
Because the more they actually share and the more comfortable they are to share, you hear way more things than are actually maybe even directly being communicated.
Yeah.
And I love that. I'm like, okay, well, can we put a pin in that and unpack it? Because what I heard you say is that.
Yeah, exactly. And those are the best conversations. And, you know, pre-COVID, I would be happy to, you know, pick families up and drive to the And it's that time in the car after you leave the community where, you really get the info down. But I had an example like of that I was working with the daughter and the son, and her dad were not yet involved. They were being proactive. And we had a moment where like it came up, the first community we toured, not a lot of assisted livings have washer and dryers, and it's not everywhere. And like it was apparent on the screen that like that was going to be an issue. Like, so they really had hit something. Mom was not going to dig that, and like that became like, number 2 priority was like, no, we can't. Mom's not going to let that go without having her own thing. So we need to shift gears right then and there. So yeah.
But then you get that opportunity to actually like hear that and know what's really going on. So another thing, things just keep popping into my mind, so I'm sorry. But how helpful to have someone like you for out of state children, right?
Right. Because we can Zoom, we can share all the notes. We can all get together and talk that through, yeah, absolutely.
So I think, there's just a lot of, I've come across that a lot. Even when I was at non-medical home care, the family members aren't here. So they were hiring home care to really have an additional set of eyes and ears and presence that also can communicate back to them, like what's really going on in the home, what's really going on. And same thing for you. That's like a perfect, almost like a liaison.
Right.
To report back like, hey, this is what we're hearing, this is what we're seeing, and be that guide, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that navigation, back to navigation again, right.
I had another question. I think I saw that tomorrow, maybe, I hope I'm not making that up. Are you doing a Dementia Friends?
Oh, that's next Thursday, yes. Yeah, Dementia Friends champion trainer. Yep, absolutely. I love that.
I'm also a dementia friend. I am not doing anything super cool like that. We are having Mindy on.
Oh, very cool. Yeah, that's great. So you're not a champion?
No. What do you have to do for that? Do you like?
There's another training that you can do. So you could actually lead a
trainings.
Lead the friends session. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I will look into that because I loved doing that in Whitestown and like all of our surrounding businesses.
Yes, I went. Do you remember? Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, that was. Yeah, I think that was my second one that I wanted to go again. Yeah, that was. Yeah, that was. Boy.
Oh, that seems like
history,
so
Christie.
long ago.
We have history. I know.
We do. We've been working together for a hot minute now. It does seem like that.
Right.
You started in 2018.
Yeah, but I think I met you before I made that change because it was like through BNI, right?
Oh, yes.
Right, yeah.
Now I'm in your old chapter, representing that senior living love.
That's right. Ripple effect.
So, they're wonderful.
You bet, absolutely.
Ways we've worked together, we kind of have talked about that. I do want to maybe clarify for people. Sure. Like at what stage, I know if somebody comes through me, I know when they are a good fit for you and when they are not necessarily a good fit for you. And so can you maybe share with us some like key indicators of when it's a good time to have those conversations or reach out?
I'm all about the proactivity,
Yes.
and that again, being that there's no cost to work with me. That's so to stay proactive, you're not wasting any time. But I think like things that you want to listen for, like, hey, the house is getting to be too much for mom or dad. We don't know what to do. Mom fell again last night. We're not sure. Or, medications. We're not 100% sure that mom's taken her medications. Or dad is not eating well. Anything that like you hear something like that, that's a perfect time to say, hey, talk to Dave about what's out there, because I think there's, we're still kind of in that generational shift where everybody's perception is it's all nursing homes.
Yeah. And then it's like a long, dark, scary hallway that like people are screaming and that it's a really treacherous place to be. I will have you know, the 4 communities that I have worked in, I would move into in an instant.
Yeah.
Like, sign me up. Apparently I wasn't old enough. Very offended, but like, fine.
Yeah.
I would always try to combine my age with somebody's. I'm like, hey, we could be roommates.
You're exactly right. Yeah. I'm almost there. So we'll see. I'm almost.
You guys could combine your ages. You and Carolyn can just like merge your age and then move in. It'll be great.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that like, I know what you're all about, like creating that roadmap and connecting those dots for people. But I think that like staying proactive, I've worked with a lot of families that they get connected with me, and guess what? Mom or dad isn't on board, and that's okay. So you know what? We can do our homework and we can go tour. And if you guys, want to tour 4 and then narrow it down to 2, and then we bring mom and dad on board and we start those conversations. And yeah, I mean, I'm more than happy to do that, because you don't want to find yourself in crisis mode. Families, they have a ton of options, even though they don't know it. Yeah. But if you reach out to somebody like us, they'll find out what options they do have. But, my gosh, you have a fall, you have options, you've whittled it way down. So
yeah, I am all about the proactivity. We talked about that on the actual ShareTheCare show last week, because the reactive versus proactive mindset continues to come up. Think about the things we were just talking before we hopped on here about REA services and how being proactive with our pre-planning documents. I mean, there were so many things that I was like, oh God, like if I were in the emergency, if I was in the crisis, I wouldn't know. I wouldn't even know. I am 30 years old, Dave. I should know what some of these things are.
Yeah, exactly. Absolutely. Yeah, we pulled our little flammable box out. It's like, there's our marriage certificate. And yeah, not good. You got to get working.
Yeah, but I think that's another reason why Care by Christie had to be formed, had to be created, is because of those 4,000 caregivers that I have seen, I would say it's probably 80 to 85% of them that showed up on my doorstep in a crisis.
Yeah.
And it is heartbreaking to see family dynamics get icky, to see overwhelm and burnout and exhaustion and just all of the things that come with that. It's not necessary. And we plan for so many things in our life that this can be one of those things.
Yeah.
I had, you mentioned like maybe just meeting with you, connecting, having a quick chat, seeing what it is, getting to know you a little bit better, and maybe not using it for months. Maybe it's not till next year. And that is perfectly okay.
Yeah.
There was a lady that reached out to me recently that found me on Noblesville Chatter and has been following along for 3 or 4 months, and then decided to reach out to actually do a discovery call. That is perfect. There's nothing wrong with that. And I was like, you are amazing. You are incredible for doing this. I am so proud of you. Because she set herself up for success.
Yeah, I mean, I love it. I'm working with 2 families right now that have, since day one, they're like, we're not moving until COVID's over and we can come visit. I think that, that's great. I mean, I know, but we'll still tour, we'll still talk, we'll still get our ducks in a row, and that's absolutely fine. And, like you, and I know I love that spoke, the wheel, and I'm working on a graphic of that, because if people if they just go Dave seniors and they reach out, but guess what? They might need home care. They're not ready for placement, and that's the better solution for them. Or during our conversation, guess what? The will isn't right, or, they don't know about VA benefits, or, any of these other things. I want to be that connector to go, you've got this, you can talk to these people and we can hook you up. So yeah, I guess it's a business and I want to make placements, but at the same time, I'd rather have somebody reach out and make a connection for them.
Because in my experience, and I'm sure yours as well, that comes back tenfold. Being a good resource is the absolute best thing that you can possibly do in this space, because people are scared of the space because it feels like there's nothing there. There's so much there. There's so much. And so I just really love that we can work very synergistically together, and just I love it.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay. So before I ask my last question, I do
Okay.
want you to share with us where people can find you. You have been doing incredible videos,
Oh, thank you.
where they can see them, where they can connect with you, where they can find all your goodness.
So yeah, I've got a YouTube channel. If you go to Assisted Living Locators, North Indy, I think Dave Holder is in that title somewhere. Just some great videos about resource, kind of what I do, drill down, things to think about. They're only about 3 minutes long, most of them. Website, Assisted Living Locators, North Indy, you can go there. LinkedIn, I have a Facebook page. Do you want phone numbers?
I will drop, actually, what I'll do is I will drop everything in the comments.
Okay.
So I will go ahead, if it's okay to put your phone number, I will do your phone
Of
number,
course.
email, website, YouTube channel. I'll put all the things in the comments for folks so
Yeah.
they can find you easily.
Absolutely.
And then my last question, I love asking every
All
single
right.
is, what is your favorite or your most practiced self-care or soul care that you do?
Yeah, I thought about this a lot, and I think like right there over my shoulder is my albums. I have just, I mean, I'm a huge music fan, a lot of CDs, and I've tried to play guitar, and I'm terrible. But I really have just spent a lot of time. Like, this is a perfect example. I even bought like one of those spin cleaners. I know you're 30, so you don't. Yeah, I mean, am I talking?
It's okay. I've worked in this space enough that I've heard of
For a record, okay. So yeah, and so the other day I had a whole stack of them, and I'm cleaning them, and I'm playing my records, and I'm just in hog heaven, and I archive them all online, and I'm just looking for some other player, and it's down a rabbit hole. So yeah, I just love it. And well, you mentioned Sarah, like
Yes.
I learned for her like 30 CDs. Because we had got talking about that. So I love sharing it. Like anytime I'm in that little.
Oh yeah, because she was a music therapist.
Yeah, right. That's right. Yeah, of course. And
Oh
so
my goodness.
I can go to a record store and through that. It's the best for me. So I was really hard COVID, like what was it, March through maybe July or something. No record stores were open. So when they opened and I was, in there like.
Dave's like at the door. Hey.
Hey, yeah, exactly. My number on there. Hey.
You're just like waiting outside the window.
Exactly, yeah.
I love that. You also share lots of, not all of them. I'm not going to like overcommit and say all of them. But when I see you share something, I'm like, oh, if Dave likes that, maybe I should check that out. So keep doing that. I think that's
okay. Well, I kind of laid back on it, but yeah, I'll keep doing that.
You can keep doing it, and then we'll just have James teach you guitar. I'm kind of learning the piano now.
Yeah,
I'm trying to figure.
Awesome. That's right. Yeah, James. Yeah, my problem is I just love it so much. So like I want to jam, and so yeah.
I feel similarly. We have literally like masking tape on the keys so that I can actually learn like what notes are what. And he literally wrote on the whiteboard for me just like probably 10 notes because this is like all that I need to know for the song. And so I'm trying to practice like 10 to 15 minutes a day and just like get in the flow. But I feel similarly to you. I hear people just like crushing it on YouTube and I'm like, yeah, that's me. That's Christy. I'm just getting it.
Yeah, I made that mistake. I started taking trumpet lessons. I was probably like 20 or 21 because I was like going to do this, and it was such like a great, like experience, to like learn the notes and flats and sharps. And I was doing that. And I don't know how long it was. I was like maybe 3 months and I'm like, I'm getting really good. And so like I did the thing where I bought like a backing track and then recorded myself. Packed it up, clicked it, put it in the closet, and never played again. I was so.
That is so funny.
It was bad, but anyway.
Well, it's all right.
Okay,
Okay.
it's all good. It's all good.
All right, we got on a little.
Awesome. Thank you, Christy. Thank you so much.
You are so welcome. It was so wonderful to catch up with you and to share all of your greatness here with all of our fellow caregivers. Is there anything else that you want to share before we hop off?
Just if you're out there and you're on the fence and you think there might be an issue, I'd be happy to talk to you and try to give you some peace of mind. I really just want people to to feel confident in this next step and be able to make an informed and educated decision. And if you want, a partner that will walk that path with you and be that guide, I would love to help and be that resource.
That's awesome. Well, you do an incredible job. I know that so many, including myself, are so thankful for you.
Thanks, Christie.
So thank you again for joining me tonight. You can catch these replays here shortly. And until next time, have a great evening, and I'll see you soon.
Thanks, Christie. Bye.
You're welcome. Bye.